opened up the clubhouse here for us.
Yeah, man.
But really, yeah, nothing about me. I just wanted to get everybody here, kind of give you another way to think about doing business, introduce you to some professionals that I know for a fact can benefit your business, because I refer clients to them myself. And yeah, I think that was pretty much all I wanted to say. So I hope from this everybody just kind of learns new referral sources that they can get, new ways to do business, and ways these guys can work with you. So without kind of further ado, we'll start with you, Tim. You just kind of want to let everybody know who you are and what you do.
Yeah, awesome. Second time being here. I played Santa Claus in the holidays for this event here. I was in a Santa suit in this for 6 hours. So I have kind of a good bad vibe about this place. 6 hours. I was Santa. Were you here? Did you come and sit on my lap?
I did.
You look familiar. I was a little disturbed by the way. That's the guy that's funny. Anyway, sorry. Thanks, Brandon. My name is Tim Yates. I am the founder of a firm called Legal Docs for Less. We're actually a full-service legal firm, but my specialty is estate planning. I'm really excited to talk to you guys about estate planning because it's something that is desperately needed. And I think I'm going to share some numbers with you that you may know, you may not, but the numbers tell a story, and it's pretty shocking. After I share some of these numbers for you guys to understand why this is important for you to know this stuff and how you can help your clients with the information I'm about to give you. So, anyways.
Yeah. So we'll keep pushing. And you want to introduce yourself and let people know?
Sorry. I'm the owner of AM's Tax RX, and your tax girl for everything you can possibly imagine tax-wise. So I help a lot of homeowners, and I help real estate agents as well with their own taxes and building their own business and tax planning. So it's kind of a multifaceted relationship I have. They'll be my tax client, and they'll have clients, and then I help homeowners as well. So for buying their first home, a lot of times they get that Form 1098, and then they get the little extra interest form on there, things of that nature, and then solar, and then installing HV appliances is another tax discount. A lot of people miss on their tax returns, so if you actually get an HV appliance in your house, you can actually add that onto your tax return. Just so the refrigerator is the big selling point. So I do a lot of like business tax planning and anything you can possibly imagine. And I also make bad things go away. I do tax resolution as well. So
That's a good one.
You got our attention.
No, it's amazing that it comes out like so I beat up the IRS and state agencies daily. So if that's something that you need, or if you have a client that has tax debt and needs a payment plan right away in order to close, if you've ever crossed that bridge or not, you guys been there or not. So I can get it done really, really quickly.
Dave, you can roll right into that one.
Sure, yeah. Well, I love taxes too, and I help my clients fight them as much as possible. My name is Gabe Candia. I'm a 1031 exchange advisor. What is a 1031 exchange? It's a process, it's an IRS section that allows people to move their highly appreciated real estate assets into another piece of real estate while deferring all of their profits. So in other words, I help rich people don't pay taxes and defer those taxes. And so it's a great way to preserve wealth and increase cash flow and help with estate planning. So one of the things I do is guide people through those processes. Real estate professionals, I've been in the real estate, investment real estate professional for over 15 years now. I did mostly apartment sales here in the coastal area. So I worked with a lot of clients who had properties they never wanted to sell unless they had something better. So you had to have a very compelling argument as to why should they sell this property and why should they move on to the next one. That's what I help a lot of real estate agents with, that process, help them understand the guidelines. What I always tell people is that, and I do a lot of presentations for people, and I say, out of everything you've learned, forget about it, just call me anytime you've ever thought about a 1031 exchange, because no one should know more about the guidelines than I do, and I'm always available to answer those questions. So I'm happy to be here. Thanks a lot.
Of course, Gabe. And Zoe?
Hi, I'm Zoe. I'm a potential advisor with Edward Jones. So I help individuals and businesses plan for almost every big life event you might have, which could be buying a house, retirement, college savings, all of that. And usually my work actually encompasses all of these people, so I can help people with strategy and overall planning and investments. And then inside of the investments, we do a lot of like tax planning as far as like things for retirement, and then also for individuals who are looking to buy a house, we have instruments for them to be able to boost their savings, have more effect on that down payment. And then with, you know, we kind of do everything in conjunction with estate planners and make sure that the trust is funded, their beneficiaries are fine, and then of course with tax professionals as well, so we kind of all work together.
Yeah, and I mean, that's a perfect segue, right? So like the main thing, right, is I want people to understand where there's synergies there, and like you kind of mentioned some of that. I think one place that's like a really easy way to understand that is if like you guys can share a little bit of what you know the top goals are for your clients. So maybe Annie, starting with you, and kind of what clients come to you and what they're trying to accomplish.
Pay less taxes.
Boom.
In a nutshell.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, if you have a business or investment properties, and you're selling or you're doing 1031s, things of that nature, I'm always there to advise you. And if you are just selling and not doing a 1031, I'm shark picking every last expense that is not on your closing statement that's on the side onto your tax return. So we want you to put those capital gains as much as you can. Basically just answering questions and just easing people's minds and anxiety, because a lot of times buying, selling, starting a business, your first tax year, they're a hot mess, they're commingling, and so and I was up and down like you're completely normal, and the minute I say that to them, they're like so yeah, just basically just giving them really, really good tax advice. And tax advice doesn't really cover everybody. So I mean, there's a lot of times when people, they're W-2, husband or wife, own one home, they're like, how do I pay less taxes? I'm like, buy an investment property. So, and then they stare at me, they're like, I can't do anything else. So, you know, there's kind of little edges you have to get around and just kind of like get people connected with the right people so they feel comfortable. Because they don't want to manage, they don't want to do all that, they just want to get the money and the tax deduction. So it's a really good way to know people such as this too. As you can see, we're all kind of dominoes, we're all kind of follow within each other. So where I need one, they need me, etc. So yeah, it's just connecting people and just answering their tax questions. So because there's so many.
That's perfect. And Tim, like for you, when people come to you, obviously they've got some goals to protect their assets. What's the main things that people are coming to you with?
You know, it's interesting. Quick question: how many people here have an estate plan? Okay.
Like this.
What does that mean? Like you started filling out the paperwork kind of thing. You signed the retainer. You got the retainer signed. So I'm going to give you guys some numbers here because this is going to be very applicable to your business. Okay. So there's two numbers to think about first. The first number is 12.7%, and the second number is 87.3%. Any idea what those two numbers represent? First one, 12.7%. What do you think that represents?
How many people have a trust?
Okay, now we're talking about state specific. So estate planning is a state specific thing. So just so you know, anything I talk about is applicable to the state of California. We have clients that have, you know, dual residency, California, New York. We still help them with separate things, but we focus on just California. So it's basically 12.7% of all homeowners in California have their homes in a trust. Okay, now that means 87.3% of your database. So give me a number of a database right now. How many? Give me some to say. Okay, I got 300 people in my database or whatever. Give me a number. Who's got a database? How many people do you have in it? 700. Okay. So if you do some simple math, okay. So out of those 700, 87.3 of them do not have their homes in a trust. Now that doesn't mean all 700 maybe have a home. Maybe let's just even cut that in half. Let's say half of them are homeowners. It's a huge number. Now, why is it important to have an estate plan? What happens if you don't have your home in a trust? What happens?
Probate.
Has anybody here ever dealt with a probate sale?
Pain in the ass.
Okay. Has anybody here ever been named as a successor, trustee, or an executor on a will or a trust? Did you have fun?
No.
It's a nightmare.
It
Right?
is.
Okay, so here's the thing you guys need to think about. There's two reasons why the numbers are so low. There's actually three reasons why. This is my professional opinion on this. I could be wrong, but here's the reality of it. Why do you think the number is so low of people getting an estate plan?
Aren't worried about dying.
Okay, so here's the thing about an estate plan, though. Okay, there's two types of estate plans we can talk about. There's revocable and irrevocable. Revocable living trust, irrevocable living trust. Okay, revocable living trust is what 99.9% of us, all of us, need. Okay, irrevocable. When someone calls my office and says, "Tim, I need an irrevocable trust," I like to break the ice and ask them a couple questions. First, how many private jets do you own? How many yachts do you have? It's not something that the rest of us really need to delve into. So revocable living trust is what's important. But within those documents are documents that are very important to you when you're alive still. So that's why people need to understand. So a couple of things. One, people just don't understand why they need a trust. They hear trust, will, they hear the estate plan, it's all confusing to them. But just a couple of things here. In the state of California, be aware of this. If you have a will is not going to protect your assets from probate. Only a trust does. So you need to make sure that you have that in place. Grandma and grandpa have a will, mom and dad have a will. I've sat with so many families that said, I thought we were protected, but we got this notice of probate. All the properties that my grandfather had are in probate now. He had a will. None of those properties were put into the trust, okay? So you gotta understand, a revocable living trust includes your trust and your will. You need both, okay? It also includes your healthcare directives. When COVID hit, we saw so many people that got moved away from their families, put on ventilators. They there's nobody advocating on their behalf, their healthcare directives. They couldn't have access to their medical records through HIPAA. So all those things are included in these documents, and it's super important to understand you need those things. Okay, lack of knowledge, the cost. Here's another reason why most people don't get an estate plan, is they get sticker shock when they're quoted how much it's gonna cost them. Now, on average in California, it's about $2,500, okay? But we have firms up in Cupertino and the Bay Area and LA, and revocable living trust can be priced anywhere from $2,500 up to $10,000. Most of the time it's the same exact thing. Legal documents are legal documents. There's not better California legal documents. Okay, so you got to understand that it's a farce if you think there's better legal. No, it's all basically follow the protocol, the same thing. Okay, so the deal is that people get sticker shock, so they say, you know what? I only have $2,500 on my credit card right now. I don't want to I'm young and healthy. I'll do it later. They never do it. Then they die. Okay? That's less than mortality rate's still 100%, by the way. Just in case you guys are wondering, it's still 100%. Okay, I don't want to take up too much time here, but I just want to get passionate about this. Okay, so here's the deal. Years ago, I made a promise to my wife when we started a firm that we were going to do something unique and different. Okay, go way, way, way back. I said, I'm going to business school, I'm getting my MBA, and I also want to work and get a PhD in economics, and she's going to go to law school, and one day we're going to kind of combine forces and build something really cool and unique, okay? I took it a step further. I fell in love with estate planning when I saw my wife working with families that were devastated by the probate process, and it scared the hell out of me. I saw it firsthand, and I decided, you know what, I want to be a part of this. I want to build a firm that's now going to make it affordable for people to get an estate plan, and we're going to build a business model that allows us to still be very profitable. So we created a plan where we don't advertise. You'll never find us on the internet. You won't find us on social media. There's no Yelp reviews. The only way we built our firm is by relationships with guys like him and other people that refer directly to us. If my phone rings, it's a direct referral from somebody. And what we do though, because of that, is we want to make sure that they understand when my phone rings, I'm not going to charge them $2,500 or $3,000 or $5,000. And most of the time, I'm going to charge them $795 to $995, under $1,000 for the same exact thing that they're going to get. They could spend $5,000 if they want, or they can spend $795, $895, $995 with us. And we did that because one, I wanted to take price out of the equation. I no longer wanted people saying, I can't afford that. I need that, but I can't afford that right now. My family needs it, my children, all of us need it. The second thing too is that because of the way we set up our business model with technology and systems, and our entire staff works remotely as well. We don't have big fancy law offices. That I wish I had something like this. I gotta be there. If I had something like this with that, I'd probably get a business. I'd go with the tap and playing golf. But because of that, though, we built a margin-based business where we probably do 3 times as many estate plans than the average firm in California does. Because of that, we make up for it in our volume. But that means we help more people, we impact more people. So when it comes back to your database, You have an opportunity to work with me now to help people get into their trust, and guess what? If you help them get into the trust, they're gonna get a discount they can't find anywhere else, and they're gonna thank you forever for that. And not only that, with their permission, I can write you into their estate plan to use you exclusively for your listings and buyer for the life of their estate. So there's some cool things that you guys might want to be aware of that we've done. So anyways, all right, that's I'm done.
It took you so long to say that.
I'm done. All right, I got so much more, but
I
just
do want to piggyback on that a little bit because I've come across these situations, and getting a trust is incredible. One of the things that I think is very important, and I've seen before, when you do get a trust, make sure you put your assets in the trust.
it's called the funding of the trust. Because if you don't do that, it's not worth the paper that it's printed on.
It sounds ridiculous, but I mean, I worked with a guy who he had a trust from 1998, and he was selling his $2 million property, commercial property. He didn't find out until the sale that the property was never put in trust. He had it for 22 years.
Yeah.
He thought the whole time it was in trust, and it would have been devastating for his daughter, who was the whole point of doing this trust. So I'm glad we caught it when we did, and so now his assets are in there. But just make sure that is put together. Bank accounts, assets, everything needs to be in the trust.
And to piggyback on that, I hammer on that, by the way. I not only tell them verbally, I send it to them electronically, constantly. You've got to fund your trust now. We go as far as I create the quitclaim deed. I do all the work. All they have to do is go to the county recorder, and I tell them to recommend. I walk down that quitclaim deed in the PCOR, preliminary change of ownership report, to the county recorder's office and get it stamped right there on place. Do not mail it in and let them sit on a pile of stuff that'll fall over and get lost, and you assume, oh, the house is in the trust now, we're totally fine. You gotta do that. So just so you know, if you ever refer me business, I make sure they do that. It's vital.
Yeah, and so, I mean, Gabe, you kind of hit on it, right? When people come to you, they want to protect their families, right? That's one thing for sure. And Zoe, maybe you can talk to them as well, like when people come to you, what it is that they're looking to do, what their goals are, and how you help them.
Yeah, I think it's different for every person kind of facing the thing, but I mean, the overall thing, I think, I think sometimes people get scared about like the idea of money in their mind, right? Like we all have these different things about the different buckets of money that we have, like how much is going to budgeting, how much is going to your retirement, how much is for your other goals. And I think sometimes people like don't have it laid out properly in their heads, or they're kind of like scared to face it. So I think with me, the main thing is people really want clarity and they want strategy. So making sure like, okay, is my money working hard for me? What are the goals I want to accomplish, and how do we kind of get there? And so the main things inside of that are, one, definitely we talk about estate planning and wealth transfer, making sure those things are set up. I always am checking, is your trust funded? Can we change the name of this account to your trust name? Things like that. But you have beneficiaries. And then definitely, I think most people, as part of like their main goals for their life, is usually if they don't already have a house, is definitely house buying is on there too. So I really help people with budgeting and actually putting aside and making a plan for the down payment, because I think, you know, as realtors, that's probably people's biggest blockage to getting a house is usually down payment. And I think a lot of times people usually say, oh yeah, I'll save for it, like, you know, one day, someday.
Yeah.
But unless you have an actual plan where someone's holding you accountable and you know that's going aside to it, you're not gonna do it, right? So that's where we like to come in. Okay, great, so you wanna buy a house. 2 years from now, how much do you want for the down payment? Okay, great. If we do a combination of your savings along with your investments, here's what you can actually like, this is gonna happen for you in that time. So.
Yeah, and so for you guys, I mean, I don't know about you guys, a lot of times you hear in real estate, especially agents that, a way they separate themselves is say, I help people build generational wealth. And in reality, maybe we're just helping them buy a house, right? And so, and a lot of times, like for you guys, I don't know, how many people have ever heard a client say, oh, I'm just gonna wait?
Oh yeah.
All the time. So you can do the hard work and you can follow up with these people constantly and, you know, do your check-ins and all this sort of thing and try to keep them, or to protect that savings, make sure they don't go to Vegas. Instead, take them to someone like Zoe, who's going to guide them into growing that savings and preparing for the down payment. And when their goal is to buy a house, her whole job is to bring her back to you and say, they're ready. Their down payment's where it needs to be, their finances are in order, everything's taken care of. So again, I just want everybody to kind of, when they're talking, think of the ways that, in a sense, you can leverage their professions into bettering yours and making your life easier, take things off your plate and let other people that are good at what they're doing do that. And in essence, you're adding value through them. So you don't have to be the 1031 guy. you've got a guy for that, right? And this is all part of your network, and by working with them, they have access to Gabe or, you know, Zoe, whoever it might be. So that's kind of what I'm trying to get at there with that question. But maybe, Annie, you want to talk about ways that you currently work with realtors, or maybe questions like, for one thing, I know I come to you all the time, people are concerned about gift tax, right? So like little intricacies, it's like you need a professional to give them a solid answer. I can't answer that question.
Yeah, I get asked a lot of random questions. Scary enough, I actually know the answers. Mini Google. So basically, for realtors, besides like helping you individually have tax planning meetings and how to run your business in 1099, when is it a good time to actually become an S corp, or if you want to stay a C, like a Schedule C, or become an LLC? A lot of people think like, oh, I just filed an LLC, that'll save me money. Like, no, your tax is the exact same like as a sole proprietor. People just can't sue you now. Which is good. One step in the right direction. But let's just file that form and become an S corp. So, and then with S corps, I was talking to Zoe before, I light up in love. There's so much you can do with them. There's so much that people don't even realize that you can do. And there's an accountable plan that you're actually allowed to have within your S corp. So you can actually legally charge the business you can charge your business yourself rent working out of your home office, and then your business pays you for their rent, and you don't have to pay taxes on that. Gym memberships, health benefits, things like that can all be under an accountable plan. So there's a lot you can do with that. So I actually love helping realtors grow their business and actually building a tax planning and taking the stress off, because you guys are running amok everywhere, making your money. And then all of a sudden, like the end of the year, you're like, oh, shit, I didn't file that. Pardon my French, but that's usually what I've been hearing a lot of this year. And then if they did become an LLC, it's, well, I can't really help you too much with that, but let's start fresh this year. So a lot of tax planning and having like quarterly meetings, estimating tax payments is a huge one. So filing your taxes at the year, you're like, what do you mean I owe $25,000? Like when you have to be FICA. Remember when you got your first paycheck, you're like, what's FICA? Why isn't he having money? So that is you now. You have to take your own money and give it to them. So, which is a little hard for people. But actually helping with realtors, a lot of people, homeowners, will be with them, leaving a homeowner about to close, and they shoot me a text and they ask me things, like, should we put this in the trust? And I'm like, yeah, that's a good idea. And I give them the tax advantages and then shoot them over to something else. Or if we want to actually make this an investment property, yes, how long do I have to hold it? Or can I live here for 2 out of the 5? Things of that nature, just actually helping your potential homeowners or even current homeowners answering their tax questions, because there's a lot of different scenarios. And so it's like I said, my real estate relationships are multifaceted, because I'll be their tax girl, and then they'll be like, hey, I'm sitting with a client and he has a question about this. Hey, this is what you do with it. But I'm always there at the drop of the time. I usually answer within 10 minutes unless I'm sleeping.
And Ann, I mean, you're so great with that, and obviously there's certain things that fall into your wheelhouse and certain things that don't, but affordability right now is like the biggest challenge that I face, right? Everybody's concerned about affordability. What their monthly payment was 5 months ago when they were looking is not what it is today. And something that a lot of your clients probably don't look at when they're saying, I'm just waiting, is because they're looking at what's the comparison between their rent payment and what their mortgage is going to be. They haven't even considered what tax savings might look like and what is actually coming out of their pocket. So you, again, leveraging a professional like that can help you, whether it's in your own business with maximizing your tax savings, or educating your clients so that they know what to expect and what the actual benefits of homeownership are. You can add an entire, levels of expertise by partnering with professionals like Ann. And Gabe, I know you will literally go on listing appointments with realtors. So a big thing where Gabe steps in, right? You got somebody that owns an investment property, always give you the same objection, right? They don't want to sell their house because they're going to have to pay capital gains tax, or they've got to find a new property. They don't want to manage property, they want to work less. So Gabe, you can talk a little bit about how those listing appointments look like and how you add value to those to help people win listings.
Yeah, so I've been on a lot of listing appointments. I was an apartment broker in the coast for almost over 10 years. And it was a terrible place to be a broker because no one ever sells their beach apartments. So I had to learn another way to work with these folks. And basically, any broker could have sold their beach apartments because there's a lot of buyers for them, obviously. So going on the listing appointment and talking about marketing wasn't really hitting home with these people. So I had to learn a different language, and I had to learn the tax side of things. And I realized after a lot of these appointments, I'd always get the same few objections. And the same objection was, great, Gabe, you can sell my property, it's worth more than last year, fantastic. However, if you sell, you're gonna create two problems for me, okay? I don't wanna create problems, okay, but I'm creating two problems for them. One is, I'm gonna have to pay a lot of taxes, and two is, I need somewhere to reinvest. I'm not gonna put $1 million under the mattress, okay? I gotta figure out where that's gonna go next, okay? And so if you can solve both of those problems, I might be interested in doing some business. And doing a deal in San Diego, if you can find one that cash flows for these folks, go for it. However, in the history that I've been around, if you're a really sophisticated investor and you're finding value-added properties, you have contractors, if you're what I call an operator, you can find some deals here in San Diego, and it's fantastic. However, most of my clients, I'd say 8 out of 10 clients I work with have a specific demographic, okay? They have highly appreciated real estate. What that means is they've held it for a very long time, 10, 20, 30 years, okay? And when do most people start even buying investment real estate? I'm talking about 4, 8, 12, 20 unit properties, probably in their 50s, 60s, 70s. So these folks are already in the second half of their investment life cycle. So try to tell them to go buy this 16 unit property, put 20 grand into each door, manage a construction crew, take out all the tenants, put all new people in there, that they'll run for the hills. There's no way they want to do any of that work. No, they're trying to make their life more simple. They've already built up this nest egg. Their main goals are, how do I preserve what I've already built, and how do I get more cash flow than I'm getting now? And we're at a disadvantage to do a trade from San Diego into San Diego because these people already have Prop 13 taxes. So they're probably a fraction of what the new taxes would be for the new buyer. They have probably a third of what the insurance costs are because the new buyer is going to have higher insurance costs. The list goes on. Their cash flow is pretty high, and so for you to replace that with something that's a better property, highly unlikely. And so that brings me, although I do advise, and I'm happy to advise on 1031 exchanges, and of course, the first person I do is I say, hey, you got to talk to Ann, because although I play a tax professional on TV, I'm not a tax professional. So I'm happy to talk. I've told the line of tax planning. But what we do on our end with Emerson Equity, we have investments all over the country that qualify for 1031 exchanges. Okay, and these are all 100% passive investments. They're typically 2 to 3 times more cash flow than they are here in San Diego, which is very powerful. And they pay out on monthly payments like clockwork. So that's something that these clients are very interested in. And so if you were to bring that to them, and most of them are not even aware this exists, the name is called DST, Delaware Statutory Trust. It's a terrible name, but it is a great solution for these folks. We have over 75 offerings on our platform at any given time, and they range in cash flow from 4 to 6.5% cash on cash, and then these also are real estate investments, so they can appreciate over time as well. Now, 4 to 6.5% may not sound like a lot to a lot of people. However, and this is where the listing appointment comes on. I'm happy to join you guys. I will do a breakdown of their cash flow, and I'll say, what is your return on equity? Now, that's an important metric. Return on equity, they'll say, well, I bought it for 200 grand, now it's worth 2 million. I 10x my money, or I made 20% per year since I bought it. And I'd say, no, that's not the metric I'm asking for. The metric I'm asking for is, what is your cash flow divided by your equity? And they'll say, well, it's worth 2 million, and I'm only getting 5 grand a month. It's actually a very low return on equity, okay? And most often, I'm finding any real estate investment, if it's a house, especially to the low end of this, 200 grand for that property, now it's worth 2 million. If they sell that property in their lifetime, they're going to pay capital gains on 1.8. Okay, essentially, it's the market value minus your basis. If you pass, your basis goes up to market value. Now your heirs just again, if the clientele is saying to themselves, well, gosh, if I'm not gonna ever cash out my principal in my lifetime, what's the next best thing? More cash flow, more cash flow. So I agree with you 100%. I think this is a great appreciation market, but the flip side of that is it's not a good cash flow.
At a certain age, they don't want it. They don't care if they appreciate it. They just
100%.
basically retiring letters, right? They 1031 all their life, or they held, and then DSC is like, hey, this is basically your twilight investment years.
Most often it is, yeah. I would argue 8 out of 10 people I work with are in that category.
Yeah.
The other 2 are more strategic on helping even operators who are even looking for more deals, can't find one, maybe need a backup, maybe need some boot. I can help them out as well.
Yeah. And on that note, so one of the other things, like if you are getting those objections from clients and it is an investment property, but they could 1031, Gabe also puts together sample portfolios for them to look at. So, you don't have to have an answer for them there. You can say, oh, you know what, I'm actually really familiar with this. Give me some time to put something together. And if you bring the situation to Gabe, then you can go back to them. And I'm willing to bet that the other listing agents they met with do not.
I have an example of one over there. I have flyers you guys can take, and as well as examples of DSTs, everything from self-storage to multifamily to net lease properties, industrial, senior housing, you name it. And so if you were to give me an example, I don't even need the address. I just say, hey, they bought it for 200, let's say on that one, 200, and now they're gonna sell it for 2 million. What would you do for me, And so I can put together an exact portfolio with those numbers and show them what their cash flow would be.
Thanks. And another thing, Tim, you, I know this because we do it, but a way you can kind of partner with realtors, right, is through the webinar that you put together. So maybe you can talk a little bit about that and how people can stay in touch with their past client database and how that leads to referrals and repeat business.
So I mentioned 87%, roughly 87.3% of people in your database don't have a trust. So I developed a system where if I'm working with an agent, we pick a date, we pick a time, and we invite all of those people to a 30-minute estate planning 101 webinar, okay? I've done them with Brandon. It's usually in the evenings from 7 to 7:30. And you are basically, I got a script, so all you have to do is read off the script. If you can read, you can do this, okay? If you can't read, I don't know, I haven't found that yet. So, but you're gonna welcome everybody, introduce me as your special guest. You're gonna read a bunch of questions to me. It's gonna be a Q&A, and everybody that attends is gonna walk away with information that they've never got from anywhere else. And they're also gonna leave with an opportunity to get a huge discount on an estate plan. It's not a sell, it's an educational thing. I just pointed out saying, look, because of my relationship with Brandon, you are now eligible to receive, $1,700 off your estate plan, okay? So this is real value that you can bring to people. Because it's one thing, I know as a real estate professional, you can refer clients to any different business and service, right? That's great, as you should. But it's very rare to find a business you can refer them to where they're gonna actually get a discount that they can't find in the open market. That's a real impactful thing. That's the first thing. So if you want to do them, I do the webinars. I always recommend I do once, try to do one a quarter, because what it is the first webinar you're going to do, it's going to reactivate your database. It's going to allow you to make a phone call to your clients and talk to them about, hey, I noticed your home's not in a trust. I'm actually going to be hosting an estate planning seminar in 2 weeks. I'd love to invite you. It's online. Can I send you a link? Awesome, great. And then they get that discount and be like, thank that person for it. Don't thank Tim Yates, thank my business partner for allowing that to happen. The other thing is that who likes to buy closing gifts? Who buys closing gifts? What do you guys buy for closing gifts? Just some examples. Gift baskets.
Depends on the price.
All right, I can't say anything. Eric Gilman is one of my closest friends. I love Eric, so I can't say anything about that. But he's already heard this. He's already heard this here. But here's a little thing. This is it. If I end up working with you, what I mean by that is that we get to know each other, okay? It's not just like, who's this Joan Smith calling me on my phone? I'm like, oh, it's Joan calling me, cool, because we get to know each other, right? Here's the deal. If we are partners in this business together, you can purchase an estate plan from our firm at any time to either as a closing gift or just as a gift to anybody you want to give it to for $4.99.
So,
$4.99.
Right off on
And-
taxes, but.
Yes. Yes. Not only that, here's what I do. Here's what I do. If you call me up and say, Tim, I'm buying an estate plan as a gift to so and so. Okay, give me their names. It's Richard and Susie Thompson. Okay, boom. I put together a nice certificate that it says, you know, as a gift to them on behalf of you for all your loyalty and business and friendship. It's $2,500 value. Here you go. You can present it to them in any way you want. I've had a couple agents up in the Bay Area like plaque it and put it in front of people and film it, and it's like this great thing, you know, to protect their family, little kids, and it's a really impactful thing. So that's how it works. All I do is that you call me up, you place the order. I'm gonna hit your card for $4.99, and everybody wins in that scenario. And it's a huge impactful thing. So just be aware of that. It's something that I love doing. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't make any money off that. That's less than cost. But I do it because I know I'm gonna get the chance to work with these people, and they're gonna love our service, and they're gonna refer me to somebody else again, and they're gonna refer me again, and then that's how it goes. So again, working together, that's what we can do. The webinars are awesome. We did one how many weeks ago? What'd you say?
Can I give that gift to myself?
You know what? Yeah. You know what? Here, no, it's actually a good question. If we're working together, absolutely. I said, look, it's free. I want you to have it, because if you don't have it, take advantage of it. Take advantage of the opportunity. That's what I'm looking at. Said, let me be honest with you. But everybody in this room that didn't raise their hand, you should be hitting me up after this, saying, hey, I want it for myself first, and then like I said. But here's the great thing about it, though. Even at the price point, if I gave you that at that, you refer me to your parents, you know, it's still $7.95, $8.95. The reason why it might go from $7.95 to $9.95, just so you guys know, I'm very transparent on everything. It just depends on the number of homes they own. So $7.95 if they have a primary residence, a quick claim deed it, done. If they own additional investment properties, so it just depends on what their real estate portfolio is. But I want to make sure, though, every property they have in California is put into that trust, because if they don't, that's been another scenario that's going to happen. Oh, they put the primary residence into the trust, and they bought some additional properties. They didn't actually quit claim those properties into the trust. What do you think happens to those properties?
So what would it cost to go back and quit claim? So say you have one primary residence, and then you bought an investment property, and then go back and get that property.
In addition.
If you call me back up, then it's $10,000. No, actually, great question. So here's what happens. If I did your estate plan, for example, okay, and you bought, and this is what happens. I love working with real estate professionals. You got me that first client. I put their primary residence into it. I get a call next year from them saying, "Oh, Susie just got me into my investment property." At that point, $50. I'll do the quick claim deed for $50, put it in there, and just make sure they're protected. So honestly, it's like a pass-through cost for us, because we want more referrals.
Right?
Yes.
Can you do out of California? Like you yourself?
Yeah, no, unfortunately. So here's what happens though. If someone lives in California and they own property out of state, what we'll do is we'll create their estate plan for the state of California. We'll put their primary residence into it. If they have properties in different states, all I'm going to do is I will find the county recorder location and the link to that. So let's say you own a property in Clark County, Nevada or something. I'll just send you the link where you can go online and do the quick claim deed yourself as the owner of that property, and just do it that way. I can't do it because I'm not licensed in other states like that. Most states, again, allow the homeowners to do their own quick claim deeds, and a lot of them have simple links, not like California recorders are a little complex. But I will walk you through that process, make sure that gets done, because that's very common. I have a lot of California residents that own multiple properties out of state. I just did he owns 13 properties in Indiana. They live in San Diego, but he owns 13 investment properties in Indiana, so I just helped him through that process. But yeah. I'm sorry.
What about internationally? Do you know?
Yeah, see, here's the thing too. The international thing, like I said, that's just a whole other. No estate plan in California is going to protect your assets in different countries. I always tell people, look, you got to check with that country, the tax situation. If you're a resident in California but you own a property in England or whatever, you're going to have to talk to a tax professional, figure out that's a whole different ball of wax.
Yeah, so it's dual citizenship between here and Mexico. So
Okay.
I think as I was discussing with you before. So my parents, our Mexican assets are in Mexican trust, but our United States trust or the U.S. properties are not. Can those be combined at all in any way?
Well, here, number one, the properties here need to be put in a trust immediately. That has to happen. Okay, that's completely
I
separate from the
understand
Mexico thing.
that.
But here's what I also do. Here's one other thing too I want to make note of. Here's what happens when family members die and there's not an estate plan in place and there's no direction of their wishes. Guess what happens to really good families sometimes? They fight.
Yeah.
They fight over stuff. So here's what will happen though. Even if we're not putting their properties into the trust because it's out of country, out of state, I'll still list it in the estate plan because I want the family members to know, the successor trustees and the executors who were named and the beneficiaries who are named, I want it to be very transparent. It's the roadmap to when they died, they see everything and they can see their wishes. So they're also aware of properties that they weren't aware of. So I want everything to be in front of them and also to basically clearly spell out their wishes so they know there's no discrepancy. Say, well, Grandpa promised me that Rolex watch. No, he promised me that Rolex watch. No, that should be written down. Grandpa gave it to little Johnny here. That's so there's other reasons that we do that, but from the standpoint of this property in the United States, that needs to go into a trust ASAP. Sorry. Okay,
Oh, it's all good. We can run into questions with Tim as soon as we're done. I just want to be respectful of everybody's
Yes,
time,
yes.
so I'm going to keep it rolling. But yeah, it is my fault always. Always my fault. One thing I do want to say: how many people stay in touch with their past client database? Well, okay. So eventually, you're going to call somebody, and their spouse is going to be dead. I've done it. I know for a fact. So if you haven't, I know this personally. If you didn't help them protect their assets with the trust, put them in touch with a financial advisor that can help them get life insurance, you will feel guilty. You will feel at blame. So it's not just, it helps me sleep well at night. Hey look, if I introduce them to Zoe and they don't get life insurance, I did what I could. If I introduce them to Tim and they don't get a trust, I did what I could. And people will know, not just that you're doing it self-serving, but you're also serving your clients. So you're not just calling and saying, hey, how's it been? It's a value-add call, especially in Tim's case where you're giving them a huge discount and that sort of thing. So I just wanted to add that there. But Zoe, maybe you can talk about kind of how you work with realtors, what realtors come to you with, how you work with them.
Yeah. So I work with realtors individually as actually small business owners as well. So if you are complaining about taxes over there are things that you can do to actually set some of that your hard-earned money aside for your future and your retirement to make your savings and your taxes now. So we do also specialize in like how to create tax savings in your investments. And then also the big thing for realtors too, like I mentioned before with the whole down payment thing. So I used to be a mortgage lender for a long time, and now I've been doing this too. So I kind of see like the two sides, and I do think it's important to have both. Because, so for example, if someone tells me, okay, yes, I want to buy this house in 2 years, I want to have this down payment, we're setting aside the money for that. We also look at what's that payment going to be like, right? Because a lot of times people going from renting to buying, it's like a huge jump, and that's a big adjustment for people too. So if they know that in 2 years from now they're going to be at this new payment, I kind of make sure that they plan their budget around that new payment, and all that money they're setting aside is going into the savings for the down payment. They're already used to not having that extra money and they're used to that payment. So it's a way easier transition to convince someone to be like, okay, look, like this is only gonna be $50 more than what you were already thinking for, as opposed to like, this is a $2,000 jump from what you were thinking about. So just really strategizing with that too. And I think also people get overwhelmed sometimes with all the things they want to accomplish in their life, like they think about the future and retirement and think about buying a home as well. So I think it's good if you have a plan that kind of addresses both and looks at everything, so people can make sure, yeah, I can buy this house and I can still make sure I'm good for retirement and I'm not losing out on one or the other.
Yeah. So from what you guys said, I hope it's kind of clear how you guys can partner together to work like with your business to enhance it and make it better. But I also kind of there were some other things that I wanted to bring up because everything is mutually beneficial relationships, right? So kind of as realtors, you guys are probably used to loan officers calling you with their hand out, like, hey, can I please have a deal? That sort of thing. Happens with everybody. It's kind of like I call it like the totem pole or the food chain of referrals. It kind of, nobody looks for insurance first. They want to buy a house, they go to a real estate agent. That real estate agent puts them in touch with a lender. That lender puts them in touch with an insurance agent. It's kind of the way things work. But there are really easy ways to partner with all these people. Gabe's kind of a bit on the side because he's going to work with your current clients that you're speaking with and help get more listings in that sense. But there's a lot of ways to work with these other guys as well. Imagine all your clients that have, let's say, work for big employers, right? If you could go to those big employers and institute financial wellness benefits where you come in, you do a first-time home buyer seminar for all these people who are qualified to buy. You know they're qualified to buy because your person worked there and they bought, right? So now you're dealing with qualified buyers, you're bringing in experts, educating their entire work staff, and that's just kind of one of the ways. I'm happy to talk and further with anybody if you've got questions about ways you can work with these different kinds of professionals. But I hope this has been really valuable. I have some other questions, but like I said, I want to be respectful of everybody's time, and also want to give you guys time to speak with them directly and get questions answered, get their contact information so you guys can connect at a later time and all that sort of thing. But unless anybody had any last remarks that you wanted to...
Oh, I just wanted to do a little extra remark.
Yes.
This kind of triggered my brain. I do work with a lot of realtors because they have a homeowner who's self-employed. And the lender wants that P&L to have a certain amount of income. So I get asked a lot of those questions. So that feel free always to, if you have a client or potential homeowner who is self-employed, their profit and loss needs to show more income, and they're going to have to take a hit on taxes that year. So I always say, suck it up. Because and you cannot go back and amend. That is mortgage fraud.
My phrase is, successful people pay taxes.
Yeah.
When I have to make them pay taxes.
Yeah. So, but that's just something I work with a lot of potential homeowners when they are self-employed, because they don't have the W-2. They don't have like the normal little transcript that they can run from the IRS from 8821. So there's a lot of how much are they really making, how much are they taking, and then et cetera. So that's something that just kind of popped into my brain when I was telling you. I was like,
Yeah, no, please, I want everybody to kind of
Yeah, I just want to
mention
mention too, so, obviously when the buyers go through like the approval process, there's so much documentation happening. I remember when I was in mortgage, people would be like, what do you need next, my blood sample? Like, there's like escrow paperwork, all that kind of stuff. So of course to make it easier, when clients have accounts with us, we can work directly with the lender, we can work directly with the title company, everything that people need, and like, that's the best thing about having someone that you can actually talk to versus like calling a big bank and calling an 800 number. Like, they know who their advisor is and what it is. So.
Gabe, anything you didn't get to mention?
Make sure if your client wants to do a 1031 that it is set up before you sell the first property, before the closing date. I do get that call a week after they sold and said, hey Gabe, I'm ready to do a 1031. If you don't set up that process before you close, you blew your exchange. So the whole point is